Then we'll kick it off. So last session, you all had returned to Stagfall and your newly established kingdom of Valeriana. I think you were in Restov for, I don't know, the better part maybe of 4 or 5 days, something like that, I believe. You took care of some various business. You had your pretty much your charter and your founding celebration there in Rostov with Lady Jamandi and all the nobles, dignitaries, merchants, and other figures, and believe that essentially, having all of the formalities taken care of from that regard in terms of being recognized and having named your kingdom and defined your borders. In fact, if you look at the map, you can see the outline of Valeriana now as far as all of the hexes that encompass your new kingdom. And I believe that might have been, the general sort of gist of what happened last session. Does anyone else remember anything else they want to touch on about last session or anything else?
No, not that I can think of.
Was it last session we were being tracked by the cat?
Yeah, there was a rumor of a saber-toothed tiger in this area, and you all had basically been tracked by one of these. I think you had tried to follow it as well. If I recall, uh, nothing necessarily came of that, but it was a close call, if anything. And yeah, so I think that's sort of where we left off. I think you were riding in towards Stagfall. We've established Stagfall as the name of your capital,
Mm-hmm.
and Valeriana is the name of your kingdom. And then, so if we're good on that, I will cut us over to kind of the settlement here. So as you're returning to Stagfall and you get in the distance of your fort, you can see that the kingdom has grown a little bit. The settlement has grown a little bit. Even from the last time you were there were makeshift tents. There were different groups of travelers and even traders, bandits, craftsmen, all sorts of things, hunters that had made little pockets of civilization around your fort. Well, now that's filled in even more. So you're, coming back to what seems to be a swell of people that have grown and seem to be, again, sort of flushing out the fort and the area around the fort. You can see that they've started to build an outer wall even outside of some of their tents and cabins and things that they're building. So a lot of, bustle and new faces and things here that would be of interest to you, but also some of the people who were here before, you could see that they're still here as well, and they're even more established. So you had, I believe, there were different craftsmen and things like that, so that you had stopped and traded with before. You had some repairs done by some folks. The king or the fort itself looks like it's also been under a little bit of repair, and a lot of things seem to have been moving and happening in the time that you've been away. But, the fort itself still needs some work. And I think there's probably some business at hand that you can imagine, some decisions that you'll need to make as you're returning into town here. So you guys can make your way pretty much, through this area, and maybe you're keeping an eye open for, what's new, what the kind of general reaction is to yourselves or to the growing kingdom that you're kind of seeing as you ride into town here. But ultimately, you can get to your fort and to the fort entrance where you are welcomed and the gate opens, you're let in. A familiar face greets you there, and you hear the voice of Vitaly, who was one of your, I believe he's one of sort of your eyes and ears, if you will, maybe your he's sort of the command while you're away, and he's organized a lot of the road work. He has a lot of knowledge about, where your crews are working and what your current resources are. So Vitaly would be the first to greet you and say, "Welcome back, my lords. How was Restov?"
Oh, Rostov was a good visit. We were able to speak with Lady Jamandi about the affairs and the state of things, and we believe we have a very clear course forward.
I see. Well, it's good to have you back. It's good to have you home. A lot of pressing matters. If you will, I suppose we could assemble. Tartuccio has returned as well, and
Busy.
he has asked me to let him know when you've arrived. Shall I let him know?
Yeah, why not?
All right, very well. Then I will bring him down to the court, and we will discuss our affairs.
Mhm.
All right. So you all can make your way into the fort. You can kind of see that it's in various state of repair. Different rooms inside the fort have had some work done on them. Others look like they're just holding supplies. There hasn't been really much in the way of investment here in terms of the fort itself. And Vitali would be the first to sort of describe that to you all, that, my lords, our funds have gone solely towards our roadways, and we have been expediting the completion of the roadways across Valeriana, or at least in the southern route of Valeriana. So at this point, we will need to decide sort of where you want to allocate future funds. Excuse me. But before we do that, I think there's a couple of rolls that I'd like us to make. So actually, if each of you would please make a D20 roll, just a plain D20 roll. I'm going to have each of these represent a different check for the kingdom. Okay. Starting off strong. Okay, so first is stability. Okay, so as far as the kingdom's stability is concerned, things have remained very peaceful in your absence. The sort of law and order that you've established has been well followed. There haven't been any major disruptions there to report, and it feels like your settlement is uh, loyal to, the cause, and loyal to the growing kingdom. So that's very good news for you to hear. There have not been any bandit attacks or dissidents or protests to, of notable worth. The second thing is that you have, of course, under Tartuccia's guidance, you have collected a fair bit of tax revenue, and to the tune of, now that your current tax revenue that or at least the tax revenue that you've received since you've last been in the kingdom, is 150 gold for your kingdom coffer. So I think if you look at your treasury under the kingdom folder, you can add 150 gold to your treasury.
Nice.
And then let's see, last but not least,
Did you get that, Scott?
I did.
Okay, thanks.
the events that have been going on in and around the kingdom. There have been some disturbances in Valeriana that have been reported to Stagfall. Particularly new, I guess, for you all, would be that there have been reports of trolls in the western part of Valeriana that have come from the Gnarl Marches, and several of the lizard folk hunters have come to Stagfall to ask for help and to report the problem. So that's one of the newer threats that's emerged in the kingdom. But in addition to that, some of your road crew in the southern part of Valeriana, where they have been working, went missing. and some of the group that went to look for them tracked them towards the smoking tower that
Oh
you all
boy.
had seen previously. So there's a little bit of concern, obviously, about the tower still and about this missing crew, what might have happened to them. So that's another emerging threat, something that's being talked about, in and around the settlement. What else is there? And then the last thing is that there have been rumors swirling of Pitaxian presence in Valeriana and towards the southern end of Valeriana as well. And some of your crew and some of your scouts have seen some Pitaxians, making their way comfortably through your kingdom, right, which is a little bit concerning. So
Hmm.
those are sort of the three topics that come up that get reported onto you as far as being, current problems and current issues that you might need to do something about ultimately. But again, for the most part, your kingdom seems to be growing. You have a pretty loyal, very loyal at this point settlement, and your economy is starting to really take shape. You've got, trade groups and things like that that are starting to roll in, and right now it seems like, you're headed in the right direction as far as income is concerned for the economy.
So that gold that we're getting from taxes is really going nowhere right now. It's just going into our treasury. So we could
Which is,
direct that towards the fort or towards the roads. Well, I'm
Correct.
I think
starting
I
to
think
wonder.
maybe
Yeah,
we should direct it towards raising a little bit of a militia or something to
exactly.
not only just to help keep peace in the Stagfall area, but I think maybe we want to establish a front line towards the where the troll activity is happening.
Hmm.
Because we can't necessarily, I don't think we should necessarily go handle that. I feel like our time should be spent going down to the smoking tower.
The kill tube.
The kill tube, yes, yes. The
Kill
vertical
too.
murder tube.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so that's good. I think that's sort of exactly what Vitaly would be looking for, is a decision on where you want to put your money. If he one thing is, I guess, roadworks. As far as continued roadworks, if there's any plan to expand the roadways, what that plan might look like. Let me switch us back to the map real quick.
Yeah, I was curious, would you have a single road going south, and how far did they get?
So they've made it to the bridge all the way to the south. So this roadway is complete that you see here on the map,
Oh,
and it can be traveled now, north and south, and it speeds up quite a bit. As far as Vitaly is concerned, it's been a success other than the loss of one of his crews. So
How are the
he
kobolds doing? Are the kobolds being helpful at the very least?
Yeah, there's only a handful of kobolds that are still in and around the fort now. And yeah, they seem to be one of your most loyal groups. They kind of serve Vitaly when you're not there, and Vitaly kind of keeps them busy in and around the fort. So they're definitely making themselves useful, but their
Are they
numbers haven't grown or
moving?
anything.
Are they moving the tools down to the mines that get built and then bringing ore back, et cetera, et cetera? Or is
Yeah,
that something that needs more attention?
No, 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 that's actually a good point. So the most of the work that the kobolds are doing is in relation to the mines, making sure that the mines have the right equipment, making sure that the mines themselves are, accessible but fortified so that only your groups can enter. So there are more kobolds down in the Sootscale mines that are heading up that for you all. And but yeah, there are several milling about the fort as well, and it's pretty common to kind of see them. It's become, I think that's probably one of the things that would be commonplace now, is seeing kobolds just sort of mixed in with everybody else, right? Is something that definitely would not have been normal prior to the fall of the Stag Lord, but it's become commonplace in your in your kingdom, that the kobolds are not looked upon as being a threat. However, there are kobolds, in Valeriana that have, no affiliation currently to you. So out in the wilds, there may be kobolds that, have no idea that they're looked upon favorably by you, right? But yeah, the ones that you're seeing here, Micmac was one of the ones, I think one of the sort of remaining ones that you might have remembered and would remember you, and he would be in charge of the Sootscale mines and all of the operations there. Vitaly has sort of put him in charge of that. So if there's anything that you want in terms of status updates on the Sootscale mines or help getting anything done there, Micmac is your Kobold captain on that level.
Where does the revenue from that end up showing up?
What was that?
Where does the money from the mines end up going? Are we doing anything with that?
Well, right now you haven't been generating much from the mines themselves, but I think that that's about to change. I think you have been clearing the way for the trade route and trying to get the mine ready so that you could start to extract silver. And then so you do have silver supply. So you have a silver supply right now in the mine itself, and
Okay.
that's an asset that you would have that you can begin to either establish trade with or just turn into cash if that's what you choose.
Well, we we also had a smith by the name of Garrick that we had arranged to send a lot of the silver ore to, and he said he was going to be able to fashion tools and weapons with it. So we do have sort of an outlet or a pipeline for that ore.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna be able to craft you thing. I mean he's gonna be oversupplied with silver, right? And he'll be able to craft you guys specific stuff. And I think ultimately your the scale of your mining operation will be larger than what he can handle, and you'll have a surplus for trade as well. So I think that's the good news too that Micmac would report, that they're really making good progress in the Sootscale mines, and yeah, and that the mines themselves have been well fortified. So whenever you return to the mines, he's eager to show you, what's developed. But I guess maybe Vitaly would be curious and would draw on the map, what your current roadways look like, and he would be curious about commissioning future roadways where those might. I think.
I think we should start getting something going out west, and I almost feel like maybe we should do a road from Sootscale mines to Oleg's. Just to kind of create a loop. That way we could have traffic going through Stagfall in two different directions, really.
Yeah. Is there any population centers to the west or to the north? Or is
There's
everything east?
there is a small village in the west, which is the village that has reported the troll activity. So that's pretty much due west of Sootscale. In fact, here,
Okay.
I'll put it on.
Right.
I'll put it on here.
To the extent that Sydney has any positive contribution whatsoever, she's just gonna say, "Hey, boss, there's no real sense in just driving roads out into the middle of nowhere. I mean, I feel like if we have some investment, it's worth some investment. It's probably here where the people are and not necessarily out there where the nothing is. I don't know, maybe a lumber mill or even, like you said, facilities for training a militia, something."
Make it easier for the trolls to get to us.
So I'm adding Wind Ridge is the name of the village in the far west here. I'm going to put that on your map.
Good.
And so that's sort of as far as other population centers there, that would be maybe the only other one right now that has come to your attention. There's definitely other pockets of tribes and groups, right, that have established themselves, but they're not necessarily things that would go on the map yet. not things that you've really discovered or that you have like a relationship with fully yet. But definitely Windridge would be one. And I guess if you're thinking of your roadways, then I'm gonna draw in. So you're talking about, I think you mentioned Scott kind of going somewhere from Sootscale's west. Let's see, something like that. I'm gonna just draw that in with the darker gray for now.
I didn't see anything show up.
Don't see it. No.
Might be on a different layer or something. Oh,
There it
there's
is.
something. There showed
There
up.
it is.
Oh, okay, it's just slow. Is that about what you're thinking? Like,
It was just an idea. I mean, if anyone, I know Sydney said that that might be a waste of money, and Fenwarden
What's the
said it might give
agricultural
the
situation?
trolls a path, but
well, I
Yeah,
think
I mean, we've got a growing population. Do we have a growing food source?
yeah. I mean, as far as food is concerned, the for now you've got people in your settlement who are making trade with food to the point that you've got enough supply. That has not been a shortfall or problem thus far. However, with the coming winter, maybe you would want to invest in some stock there so that you've got a surplus there of foods. But for now, it feels like there's ample food for the size of the settlement that you have.
Do we have like granaries and stuff like that to store said food over the winter?
So so Vitaly will tell you that they've been working on a storage area for foods, but that so far they have not invested in supplying it. So these are sort of the things I think that are sort of left at your feet to decide if that's where you want to invest time and money. I think I'll say it like this, you've got a road crew that is active, right? So you could continue to employ them and continue to have them working. Maybe you don't invest as much in it. Maybe you just kind of have them all focus on, one new roadway and scale back a little bit there so that you can use the funds for other things. But, I think
that's what I
that
was.
it might be like it would be something that would probably be pretty constant for you, is what I'm trying to get at, is that you're going to have road crews available to you all the time. And the cost of them building the roadways at this point for you is not that significant. So, you might as well continue to have roads developed, I guess, would be advantageous for you.
Yeah, so maybe we set aside like, I don't know, 25% of our budget to be building and researching where we should be sending roads. That way it's not eating up too much of our funds, and if we have somebody out there sort of surveying the land to figure out where there might be other points of interest, other population centers that we can connect to, and we can kind of keep that moving.
So, in addition, then, so let's say in addition to the Sootscale to Windridge, what else would you want them to explore? Possibly, I think someone mentioned Oleg's.
Is there
I
a
think
population there, or is it just like a little hut? I don't.
Windridge?
No, Oleg's trading post.
Oleg's is pretty small. I mean, Oleg's
Like, is it a village, or is it just
no,
like?
it's just a trading post. I mean, the last few time you were there, it was really just Oleg's trading post. There's not anything else really in the region.
that idea because I imagine the capital city should have roads going out of it like spokes, to get people to the capital city. And also, Oleg's is one of the closest things. It's still quite a ways away, but it's to Rostov. So I feel like there's more opportunity in the east and the north than in the south. So I like the idea of kind of developing that road, Stagfall to Oleg's, and maybe we could kind of encourage Oleg's to become a city then instead of just a post.
Okay, is everyone else cool with that?
Yeah.
What do you say, boss?
I'm just eating my apple.
More or less. She's got a slight bit of concern about everyone else being able to eat too.
All right, so I'm going to draw these thin gray lines to be our proposed roadways. And for now, what we'll say is that you are all asking that these be surveyed and planned, and then once that's determined to be viable, that these two roadways would then be commissioned. But for now, these are just basically they're setting out to test and see that these are going to be how these are going to work, what direction they'll ultimately go, and if there's any challenges with building the roadways like this. So, anything else with roads? Any other?
No.
Okay. All right. So that order will go out then. That will go out, and your continued monthly cost for your road work is going to be 50 gold. So you will deduct at this point 50 gold from your treasury just for the last month of work that's happened. And you just have a run rate of 50 gold going forward for this work. Even once these get commissioned, it'll stay that same level. But they'll start to gather supplies. They'll get everybody kind of out there surveying and making sure that these are going to be passable, usable roads for trade, for wagons, horses, and the like.
Hmm.
All right. So with the roadways kind of decided upon, I guess next are the threats. Um, well, let me step back before that. Um, what other investments would you like to make in the kingdom? The I'll say this. I think that it would coming from Rostov and the grandeur of Rostov, and coming back to your little, squirrely looking fort, it might dawn on you that some investment in your fort and your capital city might be, worthwhile.
Yeah,
Certainly.
it's just sort of kind of our default capital city too. Like,
Yeah.
it's really the only, foothold we have here, so to speak, other than the mines, but that doesn't really. So yeah, I think it makes sense to spend some money on our flagship fort and make it more functional and a little more presentable.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the whole point of having grand, capital cities and that sort of thing is actually intimidation. So when you're negotiating and that sort of thing, you're putting on this air of being powerful and influential. And right now, we don't give that air. Lift
Yeah,
up that seat before you sit down, would you?
I think you would see like Tortuccio's, like eyebrows, perking up, at that, because he's definitely someone that's more wants to establish your reputation. And currently, like, if you brought trade leaders here or merchants here, it's not the most impressive thing. So he would be urging this as well. I think that investment in Stagfall, getting the fort to a better place, and then I guess deciding if there's any other structures. It sounds like the supply house is already being built, so you'll have a sort of a warehouse for food and other supplies that will be established. Is there any other function or feature in the capital here that you want to pursue as well? If not, then you can put a capital investment into your fort to upgrade it, and basically it will kind of depend on what you want to do. If you want to go the basically you'll have three different levels of investment that you could make in the fort. One would be to just kind of get it to a acceptable level, right? Patch everything up, get it to the point that, there's not holes in the wall, it's cleaned up, it looks somewhat presentable. That's going to cost you 100 gold to get it to that point. If you want to kind of take it to the next level, an investment of 200 gold would bring it up a notch there. And then if you really want to just kind of pour everything that you can into it, an investment of 400 gold would make it a much more impressive looking facility. So I'll let you guys decide on what you think the right investment there is. Again, knowing that you've currently got a tax rate that's making you 150 gold a month. So you do have some income.
Finwarden is trained in diplomacy, but he sees it as a necessary evil, and so I think he would be for the middle option. We do need to invest something, but I don't want to get carried away. So.
Yeah, I think Rekla would be of the same mind, whereas since Stagfall is our main base of operations, it still doesn't feel like our capital city, so to speak. I think it's something that already existed. So, keeping it functional and keeping it up to date is important, but yeah, I don't think we need to throw all of our money at it.
I'm thinking we need a city
I
around a smoking tower. What do you think?
Hey, we'll see. See whose smoking tower it is when we're done.
Yes, it is.
So I think Vitaly would hear that, and he would propose that if you would want to have basically sort of a survey done, extended survey of Valeriana done to potentially propose other settlement locations and to
Yeah,
identify any other existing settlement locations.
I was gonna suggest that. Yeah,
He could lead that for you guys. It will take him several weeks to kind of get a group together and survey your land, but if you want to commission that, he can begin to do that with the intent of coming back and suggesting new settlement sites and then reporting any existing.
yeah. I think we're on board for that.
Yep, that
All
sounds
right.
great.
What was the middle cost for Stagfall?
200.
200.
200. Okay.
And that's what you guys are going for? The 200?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. So this is good news. There are many idle hands that are looking to help, and Vitaly will begin to employ them on upgrades to the fort. So that work can begin pretty much immediately. And as far as getting the scouts together as well, that's something that Vitaly will lead. That is going to, in addition, that's going to cost you all 50 gold this month to get that completed. So if you want to deduct that now and just note that that's
Yeah.
underway, and then he'll bring an update to you hopefully in several weeks. Good. Okay, good. That's the other thing I was going to mention. So I think your population right now has swelled. You guys are up to 280 people in your kingdom, which it's so you've almost doubled in size for your population. I'll update your kingdom sheet here.
All right.
The wall that was being built, around the not the fort, but the settlement also, you know, it looks pretty makeshift, but it's definitely helpful for defense. So that will continue unless you guys, have a different plan or you want anything else invested in defense for the settlement. Right now, basically the wall will look a lot like the fort wall. That's just going to be spiked logs, spread and covering the perimeter. But yeah, if there's any other money you want to put into defense, fortunately right now you have not had threats, you have not had any major issues, so the extent of your defense budget, or if you will, is just going towards completing this wall.
Well, we did want to see about, setting up a little militia or something like that to maybe be ready to deal with the trolls.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea to at least start preparing for that, if not, sending someone to get more information.
Yeah, so
Maybe it's a matter of just training some of these city people, what are the 280 people, starting to train them and have weapons available.
Yeah, a little recruiting campaign.
Right.
so it sounds like two things. It sounds like you want to have like a local militia, and then it sounds like you maybe want to have a team or a party put together to go to Windridge. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Okay. So let me see. How about let me get 3 more 20-sided rolls, one from each of you, please. I'm gonna have whoever's roll comes in first will be our local militia. Second will be the group that's going towards, and then third is going to be our fortification and defense work in the settlement.
You want to hero point that?
Can I hero point on this stuff?
You can, yeah, you can absolutely. You can hero point pretty much anything.
I will hero point that one for the group.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, your shoddy fence work has now been amended.
Well,
Let
I
me show
really
you
was
how
just-
not to do it.
My problem is I just started drinking on the job. That's really what it came down to. It just turned into dice and drinking.
I do imagine that you all have like a secret stash of the good liquor here. You know, like there's definitely like a loose rock somewhere that you guys can pull aside and pull out that old liquor that you used to kill the stag lord.
Yeah, his old dad's place is now the wine cellar.
So, okay, so good news, you've got your local militia starting to assemble. Nothing crazy there, but you definitely have a contingent. I'll say maybe a good dozen folks or so right now that would comprise this local militia. So you've at least got that started. And then as far as getting a group to go to Windridge, it looks like you had a lot of volunteers, a lot of capable volunteers, and up to and including some lizard folk who were the ones that initially reported this. So you'll have about, let's see, how many is this going to be? 18. You're going to have 18 people going to Windridge. And then lastly, yeah, the settlement wall is well supplied and work will be able to continue there. And it is expected then within the next month that the exterior wall to the settlement would be completed. So you'll have really a double fortification here leading into your fort. Okay, so I think you've dipped into the coffers, you've spent some money, you've recruited some help. Yeah, I think as far as the things that Vitaly needs to move forward, he's got those questions answered, and that money is in the bank. So that will all be kind of proceeding now, and I guess he'll kind of take off and really start leading all of that. Micmec as well is given all of the new information. He's going to continue to try to drive operations at the Sootscale mine. And let's see, any other rumors or anything I need to mention to you?
Thank goodness. I thought he'd never go. So many questions.
I guess the other will be the food supply, right? Kind of putting someone in charge of the food supply and building up a surplus, particularly for the winter. I'm gonna include that in the second roll here, so we're gonna say that that's also underway. So yeah, I think as far as the pressing business is concerned for your kingdom, those things are good to go. You will need to sort of, I guess, at some point kind of establish, like a symbol and a flag for your kingdom as well, and something that would become recognizable that you would commission so that people look official, right? Because right now everything's a little bit ragtag. I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge, kind of thing, right? And so some of those types of formalities might need to be established eventually, but for now, I think it might be impressive to you to be back at the fort and maybe even standing atop the fort looking down and seeing the size of the settlement, and the fact that everybody it's starting to become a little bit more self-sustaining. You've got a little local economy going on, you've got some trade going on, you've got work continuing. So Stagfall for right now seems to be headed in a really upward trajectory. So
Yep, and the money we're spending we can tax it back again. So.
Yeah.
correct.
So-
Yeah, correct. And
We
I think as long as you're continuing to improve the conditions, you're not going to have a problem collecting.
We should give Vitaly a raise. He's doing a good job.
That's true. He is.
He's keeping things running smoothly for you, and he's also got. Remember, there were 3 other Southerners that were allies of Vitaly's, and they are all still present. I just don't really pull them all up.
Yeah.
But they're definitely like all in charge of different aspects of this, and Vitaly sort of oversees them. So he's done a good job in delegating a lot of this work. He's not doing it all himself, but he's certainly your point person. So okay, then with that, I kind of leave it to you all to decide what it is you would want to do with yourselves at this point.
Well,
I
guess
think it sounded like we were thinking about going to the kill tube, right? I mean, eventually it's like a final goal, right?
Yeah, that's what Rekla was feeling like. I feel like there was some unfinished business with the cultists too, the activity of all the cultists. So Rekla has been thinking about getting back to the south ever since
Yeah,
we left.
that's
What was the
been
cultist
itching
about?
at me as well.
What was going on with the cultist? I think I missed that one.
There was a
They
lot
were
of
across the river, but that's where I was found in the
Uh,
cages and whatnot. But they're in the barrows and everything else, and we were instructed by the barbarian chieftain or whatever to make some magic happen.
yeah, the undead guy wanted to know that the other crypts or tombs or whatever were secure. So I don't know. Feels like that's a growing threat down there.
okay.
Yeah,
So hey,
just as a sort of a reminder about the Ergothoans, they are a cult of what is it? They're basically they worship disease and
And
rot.
rot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have their symbol is like a fly, basically like a symbol of a fly, and a lot of what they do and a lot of what makes them known is that they tend to desecrate tombs and things like that. So when they're in the region, it becomes pretty obvious that they're there because they like to disturb graves and desecrate things like that. So let's see what else. Yeah, from what you remember as well, the Lonely Barrow, all the way at the southern tip and past your border, was invaded by Argothoans, and there were several tombs in that region that were taken over by them. So you believe that there's a presence or like a base of operations somewhere down here, south of your
Yeah, well,
lands.
yeah, we already cleared them out of one burrow, and then we saw evidence of them in several other locations that we didn't pursue.
Yep. All right. So if the party is thinking about heading south, I guess you'll want to kind of get yourselves ready for that trip. You can definitely obtain horses. I think may already have had horses from your trip from Restov, if I'm
yep.
not mistaken. So, is there any?
I'm assuming we're gonna leave in the morning.
Yeah, I'll kind of leave it to you all to decide, what preparations you want to make and when you want to depart to head south.
If there's a little bit of downtime, I'm gonna utilize it to try and learn some of the scrolls that I picked up in Restov. So, however many hours that is, I don't know what it is, but just let me know and I'll figure out which spells I want to roll for.
Yeah, I guess it, to that point, would you guys like stop in town for a couple of hours and leave the next day, or would you stay a couple of days, or what would be what do you think the actual time frame would be
In
here?
Stagfall, I think we'd probably stay a day or two, just
Yep.
because it's important that we get the lay of the land and how things are developing, learn, what's new, where the problems are, where things are going well. So I think we probably would have spent a day or two
Wherever the
in
bosses say.
in Stagfall.
hmm
All right, so there you go. You've got some downtime. You can do some reading and researching. If there's anything else you guys want to chase down, you'll have a day or two to do that.
I think Rekla is pretty well supplied from our Restov visit and what we were able to get from the mines on the way up. So I don't think he needs anything.
Yeah, we did a pretty good supply before we left Restov, and I don't think we used up much. So
Yeah.
How
I
about
feel like we've kind
how
of got
about
a good handle.
this question? Because I know, yeah, I think you guys are pretty well supplied. What is it that you might have Tartuccio working towards or focusing on? From this list of things that we're talking about, what of these things would be on his plate?
He should go fight the trolls.
Yeah, I'm wondering because it seems that he's maybe in the employ of Lady Jamandi, or at least she's got some kind of leash on him to some extent, or so I feel like maybe him being involved with the road plans because they feed, up into Brevoy from here or Rostov from here. I don't know.
It also might suit his demeanor and the needs of the country if he wasn't here and instead maybe working on establishing diplomatic relationships or mercantile relationships with Nikita's Crossing or back at Rostov. The less he's here, the less damage he can do.
Okay, so I'll kind of read that as being that anything sort of mercantile, whether it's the roadways because that enables trade, or any existing trade, is where you want him to focus his time and energy, establishing those types of things and making sure this road work is successful. Any trade agreements or anything like that are being looked after. And yeah, I think to kind of follow up on that, he has a little bit of a different demeanor at this point than what his ornery self seems like. He may have, his tail a little bit more between his legs now after the Rostov visit. So, whatever the reason for that is, he seems to be a,
Yeah.
a little bit more of a team player, but obviously he's still a wild card. But he does, he's very organized, and he's definitely helping again with the tax collection. So he's definitely contributing towards your growth. So
It's a little comforting to hear.
That's good. So he's essentially in charge of our economy at the moment. So
yeah,
yeah.
yep. All right. So if anything else you guys want to be studying or preparing before we have you back on the road?
I just dropped the roles that I'm gonna go for, and I'm gonna do cast guidance before every time because they take like 2 hours for all of them or more. So should be 4 arcanas in that order,
Gotcha.
and I'll roll those up, and then it'll be a +1 whatever it rolls up. And here's hoping. One,
Yeah.
two.
Okay. It got a little worse, but it started hot.
Okay, so let's see here. So I learned Everlight and Fireball and failed on, well, no, yeah, failed on the next two. But just a failure means I can try again at next level.
Okay.
And I didn't lose the scroll or anything. 12. Let's see here. A 13. What's a critical miss? Is that a miss it by 10 or miss it by 5?
10, I think, is usually.
Yeah, 10.
10?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So yeah, just failures.
All right. So you've got your studies completed. I think the other business that you had is taken care of. Supplies are already over full from your time in Rostov. And yeah, I think, there might be a little bit of a celebration here with the return of the leaders, the kings of the stolen lands, so be, as it is, you know, definitely would raise morale having you back, and all of these decisions being made and money being spent, and again, the growth that's going on, I think, is encouraging for those that have been here and investing their time and effort while you're away. So you all can sort of, kind of raise morale by spending time with your, not only your leadership, but in and around the settlement, making yourself seen. I think goes a long way. And yeah, and I think again, you're feeling well received. You're kind of feeling like
I'm definitely gambling and drinking.
like you're regulars here.
For
You're
the
not just
good of the kingdom, of course.
you're not just regulars here, yeah, but you're definitely looked up to, and yeah. So I think that would definitely be a really a kind of nice way, for you guys to spend some time while you're here and get the ball rolling before you head out. But yeah, if there's nothing else, we'll kind of fast forward to one of these mornings, I guess, in the following days after you've taken care of business, and we'll get you guys all lined up on horseback and back out on the road heading south. So you'll just be traveling with the three of you heading south towards the Sootscale mines. What is your marching order going to be?
That's a good question.
Maybe
I
Sydney
guess,
scouting,
Yeah, I'm happy to scout whatever you say, boss.
yeah.
and then Rekla, and then Fenwarden.
I don't know. Fenwarden could go. I probably got a better armor class to take the first hit than
True.
Rekla.
Well, one
So
thing too will be your survival training. So whoever has survival training is probably who you want towards the front.
I don't think that's Sydney.
Rekla is
Sydney's more of the hide.
main.
Yeah.
yeah,
It might be
yeah,
reversed. It might be Sydney in the back and Fenwarden in the
Yeah.
front.
All
yeah.
right, that makes
Fenwarden's an
sense.
expert in survival, so yeah, that's
Okay.
probably a good way to go. So.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then I guess generally speaking, you're going to be traveling how far ahead of the group, Fenwarden?
I think Rekla and I will be pretty close together.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you guys are just kind of spaced out evenly, traveling down the roadway southward. And yeah, when you leave the fort, again, I'll cut back to this other picture because I think this really kind of shows like the current state of the fort. The roadway is wide, and the roadway that has been created heading southward, you can actually see it towards the top left of this picture. Kind of just starts heading southward, and it's in great shape. Very easy for you to navigate via horse, but not only that, as you're traveling, you could imagine very easily that carts and carriages could take this roadway, and that will pretty much persist for a while. Let's see. Let me see who is on the roadway today. Okay. So as you're heading down the roadway, you guys make make a pretty good time, and you're out far enough away from the fort now that it's far enough in the distance that you can't see it anymore. When you see up ahead, Fenwarden, a small group of looks like a carriage, two horses, and two humans that you can see from a distance right now, and they're heading towards you, towards Stagfall. Let's see, do you have a... Let me look at your sheet real quick here. Guess you've got... Okay, yeah. Go ahead and do a society check for me, Joe. All right. Yeah, so you definitely get the impression that the caravan that's coming northward here are merchants. And you don't see any real symbolism being displayed, but definitely by the cargo that they're carrying and the way in which they're traveling, you get the sense that they're more interested in trade than they are battle. And as the gap starts to close, let's say you're getting maybe 50 yards away from them, they do kind of hail you, to kind of make it known that they see you and that they are going to continue to travel northward. So you all sort of close the distance here, and as they get a little bit closer to you, you can see there is an older man and a middle-aged man that are on horseback. They are bringing a cart behind them that seems to be supplied with a lot of different textiles. You can see several different cloth and I guess other supplies for looming and things like that. Would be the
Yarns and threads and that sort of thing.
yeah, and you could tell that's sort of what the goods are that they are carrying. So they will gesture to you, to make small talk at least, or to say hello to you. So they'll kind of slow down instead of just, riding by with their heads down. They will stop and say, "Hail, hello. What news from the north?"
Greetings. All goes well. It looks like you are well supplied for trade. I believe you'll be well met when you get to the capital city of wherever we are, Aravana.
Stagfall. Stagfall.
Yes, when you get to Stagfall, hopefully your trade will be advantageous to you and fair as well.
Does anybody have? Let's see. What's the other? God, I gotta refresh myself on these character sheets. It's
That's what I was doing
been
before
so
session.
long. Um, does anybody have crafting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you can do a crafting check if you're trained in crafting.
Good job.
Yeah, so Rekla, I think you would notice that the number one that they have a fair bit of high quality cloth. They've got kind of rolls of it piled in the back of their carriage here, and definitely like even quality enough that it would be stuff that you think would be like of interest in Rostov. So it's not crude in any way to you,
Hmm.
the quality of their goods. But I guess maybe what they might be interested in is, and they'll ask you about Stagfall. What trade is in Stagfall? What can we expect? Will there be interest in our goods?
It is a growing place. I do not know how how many of the population there would be interested in these fine goods, but I do know that the major renovations are taking place in the main fort of the city, and perhaps some of these wares could be used to that end as well.
How about a diplomacy check, Rekla? So the older gentleman is going to kind of sort of get his interest piqued by your response and say you seem to carry some weight, it would seem, as far as Stagfall is concerned, and I wonder if perhaps if we may be able to supply your house with textiles. What is your what is your heraldry? What is your current symbolism for?
Well, I don't believe we've established that as of yet.
It's
There's
not
some.
purple. Just want to let you know, not purple.
um,
Whatever's the opposite of purple on the Keller wheel. That's what we want.
Yellow.
Yellow on the Keller wheel is where we're going. Well, yeah. So how about that? I guess I think that might be honestly what they might kind of pick up on is that there's an opportunity to supply you with some very notable, banners and things of the like. They're picking up on the fact that you're officials. They may not know that you're the kings of Stagfall, so to speak, but they're definitely getting the sense that you are connected and
Influential.
and influential. So and knowing that it's a newly established place, they're going to float that idea out there, that if there's any interest in commissioning banners for the new kingdom, we would be very interested to take up that work for you. And we will be in Stagfall for the coming weeks. It is a place that we have been sent to establish permanent trade with. We come from the Southlands. We have traveled all the way, north from the Kamal lands.
Well, we have some Southerners helping us with the settlement, so perhaps you'll find more like-minded individuals.
Very well, then we will make our way, and we will see if there's interest in who should we speak to when we arrive at
A man by the name of Vitaly.
the top. And you are
Myself, I am Rekla.
Rekla. Thank you very much. I am Tobin, and this is Gregor. And we would be honored to begin to create banners and tapestries for this newly established kingdom. Um, what what other news from the north? Are there any other threats or problems that we need to know about?
I'll tell him about what was it? Was it the Black Tears that were attacking in Rostov?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll give him the update on, the time frame of when we were there and when they conflict occurred, and Lady Jamandi is still in power, still in good condition and good shape, but still under the threat of the Black Tears.
I see. We very likely won't be heading towards Rostov, but it is good to know that this threat is there, and we will keep our eyes peeled.
What news from the south? Did you encounter any difficulties on your route here?
Well, as we should tell you, we are from the southern lands south of Tuskwater, and there is a growing threat in the region. There are some violent lizard folk who have invaded the shore of Tuskwater, and they have been led by a lizard king who supposedly talks to the spirits of dead ancestors. And these ancestors have driven him and his followers to attack nearby settlements. So I would caution you of anything near, and I'll ping it on the map here, but this area down here, and in fact, I think we already have this on the map right now. The Lizard Folk Village, is that on your map?
We're not on the map right
Oh,
now.
I've got you on the wrong screen. So down here, you'll see this green Lizard Folk Village. That is a settlement of lizard folk that have a lizard king who is apparently driven by some dead spirits and ancestors, and they have been attacking violently all sorts of other groups in this region. And so that's definitely a threat that they would be aware of. And in fact, to the point that they may even be asking you about, like, are lizard folk this far north?
That's going to be a tough one. So we do have lizard folk, but they're not speaking to spirits that we know of, nor are they violent. They are actually some of our allies in Stagfall. So you will encounter them, but they would be nothing to be alarmed about in Stagfall.
Okay. Well, this is good to know. I would not trust lizard folk once you head south, however.
Good to know.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and safe travels to you. We hope to see you again in Stagfall. All right. They will head on their way.
Yep.
Let me move your guys' party tokens. So at this point, you would be probably not that far from the old Sycamore. The old Sycamore where the Mitflits were. And what else was under there? There was a worm. I want to say there was like a giant worm under there.
There was giant centipedes.
Centipede, that's right. Yeah, they're giant centipedes and mitflits. So maybe even like as you're having this conversation, like you're looking over these guys' shoulders in the background, and you can see the old sycamore in the distance. But and they have no idea like what was going on underneath the old sycamore. It just looks like a big old tree to them. But you guys have a lot more knowledge about sort of that threat. And with that, it looks like they're kind of getting ready to pull up soon to set camp. So that they'll kind of at this point kind of just be milling about and moving pretty slowly to set up camp. But for you all, you can continue southward. And let's see. 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, so around nightfall, you start closing in on the Sootscale mine. And you look up ahead where the mine entrance was. If you guys remember initially when you first came to the Sootscale mine, there were some scarecrow sentries that were outside of the area. That area where they were there has been erected a small building, and the building actually has some light coming from it. And so as you close in on the Sootscale mine entrance, you see this small building with some light coming from it. What would you guys like to do? Are you going to try to set up a separate camp? Are you going to try to take advantage of the mine or something
Yeah,
else?
absolutely. I would think so.
Yeah, we'll go check out that building and see if that's somewhere that we could spend the night there, or make sure everything's going well there.
Okay. Yeah, so when you get up to the building itself, you start to realize that the scale of the building is a little bit smaller than you expected. It looks like it might have been sized perfectly for Rekla. The
Ah,
door and everything is kind of down to that scale. And as you approach the door swings open, and from behind the door you see two kobolds. They're kind of standing there. One of them is kind of like, haphazardly grabbing his spear, because he doesn't know what the hell's going on. The other one just kind of swings the door open, and they see you, and they don't look alarmed, even though these two kobolds in particular don't like you don't know their names and they don't know your names. They recognize you. They recognize who you are, and quickly open and wave you in, like, come, come. And you guys could kind of squeeze into this little hut, if you will. And it's just really a small little barracks for kobold-sized creatures, but it's large enough that you can all make your way in here. There's just the two of them currently that are inside, but there's room enough for, it looks like, 8. So
okay.
there's plenty of room now for the three of you. They begin to offer you some stew and some other things. They've got a small fire, and they just look like they're, welcoming as far as letting you in and letting you share the space with them. They don't speak very well as far as is concerned, but they can communicate, with you to some extent, so you can definitely like greet
I
them.
speak Draconic. Do they speak Draconic?
They speak Draconic, yeah. So if you
Yeah, then I would just pick up conversation with them, and I will accept some of the stew and tell them how delicious it is, and just get my
nice.
munch on.
Yeah, so I think as soon as you start speaking Draconic, like the comfort level changes even more to where, they completely let their guard down. They kind of offer you their own beds type of thing. They're just kind of like in awe of the fact that someone does speak their language and that it's you, because they've heard so much about you all and they would know a lot about you. You may not know as much about them, but the the one in charge, so to speak, here will say that, please, make yourselves at home and rest, please. If there's anything you need, let us know. But there are several others working in the mine, and they may make their way out here throughout the night as their shift ends. So don't be disturbed if you see other kobolds coming and going as
I'm
as
gonna ask them about, the business of the mine, like what's all been going on, whether or not there's been a lot of visitors, if it's just kobolds working in the mines, just like I'm just gonna constantly engage. Like Sydney's probably the most talkative in this situation, like she's ever been, now that it's completely out of a formal ceremony or formal like situation and stuff. But she's just chit chatting it up in Draconic with these two kobolds.
well, I mean, and you were, I think what's really kind of full circle here is like, this is where you met the party, right? This is where they
No, I
found you.
actually got caught in a barrow down here, I think, wasn't it? Or was it in that
No,
Sootscale
it was
mine?
in the Sootscale mine. It was in the
Oh,
Sootscale
okay.
mine. You were
Yeah.
trapped in there, and so yeah, so you're yeah, it would be familiar to you. Definitely be familiar to you. You'd probably have a lot of like very specific questions, like, have you guys, cleaned out the entryway, layer? Have
Yeah.
you, all of these kind of specific things. And so yeah, they'll engage in conversation with Sydney, and they'll begin to kind of tell you that it's been busy. There's definitely been a lot of work. There have been some some outsiders that have come, and when they say outsiders, they're talking about anyone that is not a kobold. So because they still, I think underneath it all, what you would sense, Sydney, is that the kobolds still see this as their home, and they still see the mine as being theirs, but they are
I
allied
encourage
with you.
that.
And
Yeah, I encourage that thinking.
okay. So they would, that's how they would speak of it. They would talk about Master Vitaly coming and giving, orders and helping organize. They would talk also about the, I guess, the silver that they're extracting, that they've hit a large vein of silver, and that the work now has really increased because there's been so much silver discovered, so much that they're just working around the clock to try to extract it. But
I asked them if they've hit any like gemstones or anything. I think they had some like non-precious gems and stuff that last time we were here that they had extracted if they've had any success with anything like that.
yes, and I think their eyes would light up, because that's definitely like the thing that they look forward to the most is finding gems. They're not so interested in silver, but yes, they would. And in fact, I think they'll produce for you a small bag and they'll show you a little collection of some gems that they've discovered if you wanted to try to appraise these.
Sure, what is that?
I think is it diplomacy, guys, or what is it, crafting? One or the other. Can't
Yeah, I
remember.
think it's
Probably
crafting.
Crafting?
crafting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So in this little bag that he's sort of handed you, there's a dozen gems in it, and I think for the most part they look pretty common to you. However, there is one gem in here that catches your eye that looks it's like a cloudy red color to it, and it looks different than all of the others to you, and it seems like it probably has more value than the others, but
Okay.
you're not able to really like nail down like what it's truly worth. But
So I have a spell that I just learned that is this spell, Everlight, which requires a
hmm.
gemstone worth 6 gold or more. Would my knowledge of this spell be able to help me identify if there are any gems, that red one included, that would qualify as a potential target for that spell?
Yeah, if let's see. Does anyone else have crafting?
Yeah,
Um,
Rekla
Go
does.
ahead and do if you want to look at these also. If you want to show them to
Yeah, I'll
Rekla as
definitely
well,
pass the bag
that'll
over.
help. Okay.
But if I see one that I think that is worth that much or more.
Yeah. So there's about 5 of them you would say are probably worth that much. And then the other one, the one that, that really caught your eye, the smoky red gem. Again, I don't think either one of you can really nail down what that one's worth, but you definitely think it's worth considerably more than 6 gold.
The 5 that are worth 6 gold, I kind of, as they're getting passed around, I'm going to try and I'm gonna be like, "Hey, you mind if I take this one?" And I'm like, the first one I'm gonna ask, and then another one's gonna like sleight of hand it into a sleeve, and then like, "Hey, what about this one?" And then a third one, and maybe a fourth one. So like, of the 5, like 3 of them, I'm gonna try and slip up my sleeves, and then like 2 ask the party if it's cool if I have this one.
So, yeah, you can try a deception check here. I think that would be a good way of
Yeah.
determining how well
It's
you
like
can.
I'm being somewhat obvious that I'm like trying to take a couple of them, but I'm taking more than what I'm asking for. So
Okay. I think that you're kind of noticing that like they're both really like keeping a good eye on them, that they see
yeah.
that you like them. They see that both of you kind of like them, and they're keeping track of it pretty well. So I don't think pocketing them at this point seems like something that you would get away with.
What
So
about the 2 that I asked if I could borrow or
so
have?
you
I
can do.
guess, who am I asking? Am I asking that like did they produce them for us to take, or are they keeping them for themselves, or what?
No, I mean I
Like
think
are they seeing them as their own?
yeah, I think they see them as their own, but
Okay.
there is definitely like they look there is this kind of sense that you're like an authority, so they may not object if you want to try a diplomacy roll to ask for one.
So I am going to cast charm and make that attempt here. I can
Hmm,
do that once a day, so
okay.
sorry. Uh,
Okay.
so it'll be a will DC 17 for them.
Okay. So like I think the maybe the one who was holding on to the bag, he starts he starts to kind of maybe be like, "You have coins? You have coins?"
I do have coins, but I also have this other cool thing, and I'm gonna take out the scroll of Everlight that I have and wrap it around one of the gems, one of the 5 gems. and I will cast the Everlight to like make it glow, and I will offer him back that for the other 4.
Ooh, ooh. Now you're getting
And the red
somewhere.
one.
Yeah.
And the expensive red one. I'll throw here, I make this one glow, and then I get these 4 in this one, and that expensive red one in there too.
All right, go ahead and you can do another diplomacy check here. And I'm going to give you a plus on this roll with the added Everlight.
I did not prepare that. I used a scroll that I had.
Okay, that's all right.
Just maintaining my Sydney does not do magic in front of people.
Mhm.
It was diplomacy or deception.
Diplomacy. Diplomacy's good. Yeah. Okay. I think they basically they're willing to give you one of the gems, not the fancy one, in exchange for this what you've done. They're maybe not as impressed as you'd hope they would be from the Everlight, but
Yeah,
they'll definitely give you, one of the gems to
well
keep.
then I'll take the one I just made glowy. If you're letting me pick one, I'll pick this one.
Very well.
That's what I'll
They'll be fine with that. They'll be fine with that. So
So I guess I've got
you've got a glowing gem,
yeah.
and it's worth north of 6. And, they look like they're willing to trade as far as the other ones are concerned. If you guys have other things for trade, but these are sort of their currency. Like I said, they have no interest in the silver. This more than anything is probably what they prize. Okay, if there's anything else with the gems, or if there's nothing else with the gems, then you guys can kind of settle in, and you won't have to obviously find a camp tonight, but you can still spend time if you want to tell a campfire story or relax or organize a watch, any of those things that you might want to do.
Yeah, I think it might be fun to tell a story to the kobolds.
Okay. What's this story gonna be about?
Maybe it will be about the legendary kobold Kurth and how he helped bring
Oh,
down the Stag Lord.
nice. Nice, yes. Okay. So you can do what's the role for this? It's like performance or something like that.
Tell a campfire story. Performance check. I don't even know if I'm trained in performance. I am not. Let's see how poorly this goes.
Well, I mean, there is a lost in translation aspect to this too that you can always
True.
really lost in translation. All right, critical failure. Let's see. Well, I guess just a failure. Critical failure. Your story distracts and unsettles your allies. They each take a -1 status penalty to skill checks until they relax or begin a new day. Okay, so yeah, I think it
Yeah,
is
maybe I'll
probably.
hero point that. Maybe I'll hero point my story about Kurth because that just seems crazy. Like I know this story so well. Hold on, let me try this again, guys. Oh, well, at least it's not critical failure.
It's not critical. Okay, so they don't have. It's not unsettling. It's just unmoving. so
Yeah,
so really no benefit or
yeah,
penalty, but at least you've engaged with them and attempted to kind of entertain them. And I think again, just given the language barrier, given the current circumstance, it doesn't hurt you in any way. Unfortunately, it just doesn't help either. But anybody else want to do anything with the time that you've got?
Finward
Uh
is doing relaxing.
Relaxing? Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep an eye on that bag of gems, and if it's unattended or I see it put up someplace, I'm gonna take a mental note of that because I'm probably gonna take another swing at maybe lifting one out of there, one or two out of there, but not immediately. I'm gonna try and study one of my scrolls a little bit, like while I'm trying to like keep an eye on it. If it leaves the room, it leaves the room. I'm not gonna follow it. But if it stays in the hut, I'd like to know where it stays in the hut.
Yeah, I mean it looks like one of these kobolds is a little bit more in charge than the other, and he's the one that sort of holds on to the bag. So you keep an eye on him, and he's not they're not suspicious of you in any way at this point. I mean, again, they're more taken with the fact that somebody's here, that you guys have treated them like equals, and that you've asked a lot of good questions about them and about their mind and their home and everything. So yeah, you guys feel, at home here, or as welcome as at home as you can, in given the small scale of the building and furniture within it. Rekla is like custom. It's all custom fit for him, though. It's kind of nice, But you must get a kick out of watching, like the elf and human try to,
Yeah.
squeeze down to get into the chairs and stuff.
I don't gotta climb up into the bed. You guys gotta
Yeah.
crawl all over the place. This is nice change of pace.
Yeah. Fenwarden needs to fold himself in half to get into the beds.
Is there going to be any type of watch order for the evening, or will you just be entrusting the normal process that the kobolds follow?
I think Rekla would be comfortable trusting the process.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'll probably stay up until the kobold with the bag leaves. Assuming the bag leaves with him, then I'll probably call it a night. And then I'm gonna make an attempt at knock.
Okay. All right. So if there's nothing else that you guys are kind of then gonna get rest at this point, let's see.
That's at a DC 18 to learn knock. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll between stuff here.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I only have a 17.
you're kind of able. The human and the elf are kind of able to find a way to kind of get comfortable. Maybe even like putting two beds together, or just kind of finding a makeshift way to fit yourself into this small space, and then you guys can get some rest here. If it's all right with you guys, I'd like to just take a quick mid-session break here, and then we'll return and we'll pick it up right here.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Just a couple minutes. Be right back.
I suspect paint thinner will do it. Also nail polish remover. Right, that's fair. You wouldn't want it to. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Let's see. I had the flu for like almost 2 weeks, and my ears are still ringing.
Ooh.
It's just like
Yikes.
constant ringing in my ears.
Sorry about that. That sounds
Yeah,
terrible.
that's the worst part of it. It's like, well, not to mention it lasted almost 2 weeks. Like,
Mhm.
I would much rather have COVID.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
I had COVID before. It was like 48 hours back to normal. Like, it was a shitty 48 hours, but it was over. You know what I mean? And like, to have something that goes on as long as this went on was just brutal. And then to have the lingering effect of having tinnitus in my ears is just the
Wow.
worst.
I've had tinnitus for years. I've not been able to get rid of it.
Really?
Yeah. There's a couple of things that you can do to reduce it or mitigate it a little bit. Sometimes it's just the only thing I can hear.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my buddy Rick, you know him, Scott. He's
Yeah.
got it bad. He's got it like to a maddening degree, just so I don't have it. It's not quite that bad, but it's still just it's not something I expected. I didn't expect this to be. Okay. All right. But I can hear you. So it's just weird. It's just like this echoey kind of thing. But so back to the shack. You guys are getting some rest. The night is underway, and the kobolds that were in the shack with you look like at one point, as you guys are kind of like starting to zonk out, it looks like they're kind of getting ready to leave. And then outside of the shack, you hear some footsteps, and two other kobolds come into the shack, and they start to speak in Draconic with the other two kobolds. You guys might have like an eye cracked open, or you might be feigning sleep, whatever it is. But if you're listening in, you can kind of just hear that they're doing like a shift changeover. Um, and one of the kobolds is actually, he produces a gem, for the other kobold. He's, like he's so happy he discovered one on the shift and he provides it, and the other one, is kind of like checking it out, and he adds it to his little pouch. But at that time, it looks like the shift is kind of changing over, and the two that were here are leaving, and the two that were coming are getting ready to kind of join you in rest. So with that, the other two leave, and as they
The
step out,
pouch goes with it. No, the pouch goes with that one. He doesn't leave it in the room.
yeah, he takes it with him. The sort of elder one, he kind of carries that pouch, and you can see it. Like he carries it pretty openly, so you definitely like see him carrying it on his way out.
I'm gonna stealth after him. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna get some fresh air real quick, feeling a little cramped to the two that are in here, and I'm gonna step out and kind of see where he goes and what he's up to.
Okay, all right, yeah. So you can kind of follow them outside. You kind of see the mine
Well,
entrance.
before Sydney leaves, Rekka will say, "Make good choices." And give some guidance.
So you step out with them,
Yes, sir,
and
boss.
let's see, is this one have dynamic lighting? No, okay. All right. You step out, and maybe you're kind of like stepping off to the side, just kind of stretching a little bit and getting some air, keeping the kobold in the corner of your eye. And let me bring you over to a different screen here. All right, Sydney. So you step out, you've got the two kobolds. If I can find their, I think I'm just gonna use this one. I'll use Micmac. I don't know where the other one is. These guys kind of head around, and they start heading towards the cave entrance, the mine entrance, right around the corner. And at this point, I'm going to have you roll a perception check.
Okay. Perceptions. That one always loses me. There it is.
Okay.
Plus the guidance.
Yep. Where is it? 1 second. Oh, I actually found the right token for these guys too. Here we go. This one and this one. Okay. So yeah, as you're kind of paying attention to their movements and watching them as they're sort of like meandering towards the cave entrance, Sydney, you notice a shadowy figure up on the hillside that appears to be stalking them. It gives you a kind of a chill and a little bit of a hair on the
What
back of
kind
your
of size?
neck.
Like kobold size, human size, bigger size?
Bigger.
Like bigger than human?
Maybe similar size to human.
Okay. I asked them in Draconic, the two kobolds. I point up to it and I ask them if that's one of theirs.
Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna have them make perception checks and see if they.
You can see him.
All right, let's do this. So you kind of point up, and they both take a look. They both turn and start to look up, and it looks like they're kind of struggling to spot whatever it is that you see. But because you pointed it out, they're kind of going out of their way to kind of take a closer look, and whatever it is seems to be disturbed by this, and it leaps out of the hillside. What appears to be a large wolf comes barreling down the hillside towards the kobolds, looks like to intercept them before they reach the mine entrance. So I'm going to have you go ahead and roll initiative.
Yep.
And I'm going to get our kobolds into the initiative. Oops. Wait a second. There we go. All right. So got them, got you. Wow. Okay. So 4.
That is not my proper initiative. That was rolled off of stealth. It was still set up from a stealth initiative earlier.
Mm.
That would be
There you
my
go.
initiative.
Okay. I think it fixed it. It looks like it fixed it. All right. Okay, so just at that point, basically, you see this, what looks to be a large wolf coming charging down from the hillside towards the kobolds. And he gets up to this first kobold and he appears to take a bite attack towards it. Let's see, where is it? Jaws, here we go. Okay. All right. He takes a pretty sizable bite out of the kobold. Let's see, what is the kobold's AC here? This might be a problem. Oh, yeah, it is, because the kobold's AC is 18. That's a critical hit. He absolutely obliterates this kobold with a single bite attack. You just see this limp kobold kind of swinging around, ragdolling to this wolf, just so quickly. This thing is on top of it and just, manhandling it.
Right in
Um,
the throat.
so he's got that kobold completely ripped apart just in the matter of those few seconds it took you to walk out here. The other kobold now is going to act right before you, and he is going to, out of fear, begin to run. See, these are 10-foot squares, so he's got 35. Okay, so yeah, he can make it to here. He's just running in a pure panic towards you, Sydney. The others,
Yep.
let me have, before you go, Sydney, Rekla and Fenwarden, you guys can roll perception checks.
Yeah, I was gonna yell. We got problems, boss.
Yeah, if you guys want to do perception and give yourselves a plus to that because you're getting yelling from the outside as well. Okay, you both hear this. You guys all hear this distinctly. So I'll have you roll initiative right after Sydney goes.
Okay.
All right, Sydney, you're the lone wolf.
Yeah. I'm gonna move there. So it'll take a little step action. And then I am going to, with the ring on my hand, I'm gonna like raise my hand up towards the wolf and I am going to shoot lightning at it. Utilizing my ring
Nice.
of the elements.
Light them up.
But
Light them up.
Damage 17.
Okay, so basic save. All right.
yeah. I do not have my crossbow on me either. Just a heads up. I did not come out here
Okay,
ready for combat.
I rolled a 20 for his reflex save, so he's gonna just take the. Does he take any damage because of this? Just the 17
Half damage.
or half? Okay, so he's gonna take rounded. We'll give him 9 damage. Okay, yeah. So this flash of lightning from your ring goes off and definitely connects with him. Just doesn't seem to do as much as you had hoped, but singes him a bit for sure. All right, so guys, the inside the cabin, you can go ahead and roll your initiatives. There you go.
Fenwarden's all
He's
jacked up.
he's like drinking coffee on his way to sleep. Okay.
I didn't have a token selected, so
That's all right.
Neither
I'll
did
get you. I'll get you guys. I'll get you guys. 1 sec.
No token there. Yeah.
I gotta put you one there, one there, and then now you should be able to edit yourselves in the turn order if you want to just plug in your roll.
Yeah. Again.
Okay. You're 31. I got you.
Okay.
All right. Let me resort the turn order. So, all right. Second round starting here. Fenwarden, you've been roused awake by all the commotion outside and maybe even the flash of a lightning bolt. So, what would you like to do here?
Well, he wants to grab his bow and run outside. Is that one action or two that he's going to use for that?
Well, I mean, to get up and grab your bow is an action, and then the movement would be a second action.
Okay. All right. Then he will have one action left when he gets out there and spots the wolf. He'll have to. Trying to decide if he can do a hunter's aim. I think probably needs to have that be 100 prey. It does. Okay, it's just going to be a normal shot from his composite longbow then.
Okay. It's not the hardest thing to hit. It's AC 18,
Oh my goodness.
but that will not hit. That is a
That is a
fumble.
fumble. Yes. Well, he was too excited.
He might have been further asleep than he thought, but
Lowest possible roll there. Yeah.
all right, you want to roll on the fumble table? See what happens
Ugh.
here.
I'll find it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Weapon fumble.
Okay, so your ammunition has spilled here, and it is kind of laying in and around you. It's just, again, maybe just trying to go so fast and get out there and get your bearings. It's, makes sense that maybe you're just
Yep.
going so
Yep.
fast. But anyway, you're out there. You have sight. You can see the dire wolf, and you're in the fray. So, Rekla, I think you're next.
Could I, Rekla would like to climb through that window right there if it's big enough?
You could, you could spend
Athletics check maybe?
an action to, open the window and crawl through it.
All right,
You don't have to roll like athletics or anything.
okay. So that's the second action. I think he'll do, where is it?
Raven Feebleman.
Targeting, yeah, targeting the
Okay.
wolf, of course.
All right. Let's see how he fails his savings. So, got it. Okay. Or enfeebled 1, it says.
No,
On a success, it says the target becomes enfeebled 1.
He
yeah, but
failed.
it's
This
a
was a
failure.
21.
Yeah, he failed his check.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah,
Okay. Got it. All right.
and that would be his turn.
All right. Let's see. So he's going to take a -2 penalty pretty much to
Strength-based.
everything. Okay. Okay. All right. He, at this point, I think, given the change in scenery, he's got a decision to make if he's going to continue to pursue the other kobold or look at the new threat. So I'm just going to have him roll 1 and 2. He'll continue to pursue the kobold, and 3 and 4 he's going to go towards the new threat. So he's going to go towards the new threat. He's going to come this way towards you, Rekla, and try to take a bite attack towards you. Oh, he rolled a crit. So he takes a bite out of you, Rekla. In this case, it will be 26 critical damage.
I have a reaction to that.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay, so he gets a will save. Fails his will save. He critically
That's a crit
fails
failure.
it. Double persistent bleed. Okay, so
That's 4d6.
okay. So that's, you want to roll that? I'll let you roll that. There we go. 14. Okay. Nice. All right. So the wolf has bitten and been bitten back. Our kobold is in a frenzy here. He's gonna run back into the shack where he's inside, probably screaming in Draconic at the top of his lungs, and only Sydney can hear all the swear words. Sydney, your turn.
What? So what did the Kobold scout that is on the ground? What did he have on him? Like what was that the like weapon wise? What's you have
Spear.
like a spear or something?
Spear. Mm-hmm.
I will use conceal spell and telekinetic projectile to jam the spear up into said
Wolf.
into
Gotcha.
the wolf.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So the kobold who's kind of gripping this, with his last grip, this thing could kind of fly out of his hand. And let's see. Attack 28. Wow. Nice. Is that a crit? That is a crit. Yeah, 28 would be a crit. So you could roll on our crit chart, our crit table.
Is that just like a 1DC?
No, on the, I'm sorry, if you go to
I forget what-
the collection tab,
Okay.
and then go down to critical hit and click roll on rollable tables.
Action, critical tab, rules. Do not see it. I could be in the wrong section.
It's the collection tab is the one that's by the settings, the gear icon in the upper right,
Oh,
and then
oh, sorry.
it's towards the
Gotcha.
bottom.
Here
Yeah.
we go. I was in the wrong one. The macros
It's
thing.
it's been a minute since we played. I've
It
had to
had.
reacclimate. All right. What do you got? Okay. Serious leg wound and his movement is halved. Okay. Perfect.
That's good. He's not getting away. Nice
Yeah,
job.
he's in trouble here. All right. So he's injured and your damage on that was 9. Okay. Gotcha.
Well, 2 times that if you
Or I'm
got the
sorry.
crit.
Yeah, it was 9, but okay. All right. You still have an action, I believe?
No, my first action was to do conceal spell.
Oh, that's right.
So
That's right. Okay. All right. Back to the top of the order to Fenwarden.
Alrighty. Fenwarden will take a step this way. He will hunt prey. And finally, then he will use the feet. 100 shots. So he's going to get 2 shots in on that one at standard. First shot.
I actually meant to mention that
Oops. That's
when you
wrong
got bit, Rekla, he would be grabbed
Okay.
with his jaws. Just forgot to mention that.
one. Oh. So he's held by. I'm going to have to reroll that because that, thank goodness I'm going to reroll it. That was a sword. I'm using my longbow. So trying again. Ooh, horrible rolls.
That fell just short.
But it's an 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second shot is also a miss.
Okay. All right.
Wow. This is terrible.
Couple of arrows fly by, but let's see, we're to Rekla. So Rekla, you're currently in the jaws of the beast.
Well, that makes them easier to touch.
Sure does. It sure does. All right, this is a fortitude DC. Does save that.
So half 5.
Gotcha.
And then I can use an action to try and free myself.
You can. Yeah, it would be you're gonna roll. What is this? You're basically gonna roll versus him. Just trying to see what is it. It's athletics.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not gonna roll for him. I'm gonna say that you have shook free of the jaws. So you've fallen, out of his jaws and you're free to move about.
Cool.
He is also, let's see. All right. You have one more action? I think.
That was the last.
Oh, yeah, the one was 2. Okay.
2 action, yeah, for the spell.
All right. Back to the wolf. Back to desperate wolf. He is he's not too happy. He's not too happy. He's definitely not feeling great, but he at this point is pot committed. He's gonna go ahead and try to at least grab this. Let's see, what will he do? What do I want to have him do here? Okay, he's going to the wolf is gonna turn around and pick up the Kobold scout, and he's going to begin to run with the scout. So he can go. What's his movement? Okay, he's pretty fast.
well, he's half speed because he's got that leg.
Yeah,
wound.
I know, but he still could move pretty good for a wolf with Kobold in his mouth. Okay, so yeah, he starts to run back up the hill, and he's got this lifeless body hanging from his mouth, his meal for the evening, as it might be. The other Kobold is gone. All right, so now we're back to Sydney.
Oh, the end of his turn, he gets his persistent bleed damage.
Yeah.
And he can try and shake it too.
What's that? Fortitude?
Yeah, I think it is fortitude.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so he's moving slowly. Definitely looks hurt, but is.
Did you calculate with that damage that I rolled?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's hurting, but he's limping away at the moment. What do you think, Sydney?
I am going to. Well, nobody can see me right now, I don't think. So I am going to.
That is true. Yeah.
See here. Oh, and this is just verbal. Spectacular. Okay. So I will cast that. So I will mutter something under my breath quietly. Not that anyone can see me cast a spell. So
Cool.
I will take 2 strides. I have a 50-foot move speed, so I feel like I should be able to get to there. And so there's my 2 stride actions from that. And then I will use an action along the way to
Holy
pull out
crap.
my corset dagger, and then my last action. So my first action is to
Gotcha.
cast time jump. Gives me two actions that I can use on strides. Then second action will be to pull it out. I did that on the run, pulled out my corset dagger, and then I will stab the wolf
Nice.
with the
Nice.
corset dagger.
Yeah.
Because that was definitely on me,
You'd
even
be
if I
like,
wasn't carrying my heavy crossbow.
oh, it's a hit. It's just not quite enough.
Oh no, yeah, no, my damage is absolute shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean
He's
that
a lover, not a fighter.
it's got to be this, it's got to be a little bit like surprising to the wolf, right? That you just like flash by it and you're in front of it, um, and now you're on upper ground stabbing down towards it, trying to take its meal. So, but yeah, you definitely get a slice in on it as it's still trying to escape. Fenwarden, you see this humanoid just suddenly appear on the mountainside in front of the wolf and stopping it a little bit in its tracks. You can see it's trying to escape with a dead kobold in its mouth.
Yeah, I think we can stop it. So I'm tired of missing. So he'll use
Hmm,
two actions to do Hunter's Aim. So he's gonna get a +2 on his first shot
nice.
with crowbar.
Oh, okay.
That
That
hits.
that will actually kill it.
All right.
So it will drop upon that hit. Just one final squeal from the wolf as it falls to the arrow.
All right. It
And
actually does more than that too. So but we're good.
yeah, you just need it. You got exactly what you needed, and anything on top of that would just be overkill. So this thing is slumped over. Maybe it rolls down, slides down the hill a little bit, and the kobold body is left behind, Sydney. So we'll take you guys out of turns now. The threat has been dispatched.
Is the kobold definitely dead? Like, I will reach down and check
He
it to
got
see it.
destroyed.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I know the
yeah.
answer to that
I
question.
think his soul has been removed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Which half of him are you checking?
it was brutal.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely dead. And I know
Was
you're
it the chieftain kobold or
I,
was it the other
I
kobold?
knew you were gonna ask that. You know what? I didn't even think about it, so I'm gonna have you roll. So
I was gonna ask that immediately. I was
because
like, I wonder which one died.
I know, and I didn't keep track of who was who, so I'm just gonna let you roll. Let's just make it a 50-50 roll, whatever die you want to roll. If you want to go high or low, call it before you roll it. If
I
you're
will.
if you're right, if you call it right, then it'll be the chief.
I'm rolling a D2 and I'm going for a 1 on a chief.
You got him. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. So I
So,
assume the pouch just suddenly, disappears.
no, not all of the pouch. Absolutely not. Sydney's just gonna take the gems that are the most interesting.
Okay.
I am going to like take it up, and then I'm going to very quickly get that red gem, the other interesting gem I saw that just got put on the top of the pouch, and I'm hoping the other 4 or so gems are near the top of the pouch too. And I'm gonna kind of grab those and spill them in, and maybe throw a couple more little rocks and stuff in, uh, and like some pebbles off the ground or whatever as I'm scooping it up and whatnot.
Okay.
But I will grab up that and grab up the pouch and like I guess anything else that's like left of the kobold that isn't like totally disgusting, and sadly present it to the other kobolds with a few less gems in it.
Yeah. So you'll bring him down the hill here. I guess, is anybody here trained in nature? I guess if you're trained in nature or crafting, you could make a roll. So definitely, yeah. So Rekla, you definitely recognize this to be a dire wolf,
Mm,
and you know that this pelt from this dire wolf could be worth up to 50 gold. It's worth
Nice.
far more than any other wolf pelt.
right.
And even in the condition it's in, particularly, you guys didn't mutilate it that much, so it's in good enough condition that you do feel like it's got a significant value. So that would be something else that might stand out to you about this. But yeah, otherwise, the wolf has got a couple arrows sticking out of it. It can be cleaned up pretty easily. Meat's not worth anything. It doesn't have any other items obviously on it.
Would that be a survival or a crafting check or a
I
nature check to
I
skin it?
I would take survival or crafting.
Yeah. Fenwarden's expert at survival.
Okay. Yeah, so if you guys want to try to,
Yeah, I would have. Like, Rekla would defer to Fenwarden
skin this
as an
thing.
expert. Yeah.
Okay. I'll bring it. So I mean, I
Don't want to
guess
mess it up. So do you want to give
Well,
guidance?
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
while they're doing that, I'm gonna talk to the kobolds in Draconic and tell them about what happened and how sad it is, and like the bag of gems, let them decide who the new leader is and then give it to that person.
okay. Okay.
I also suggest Rekla would tell Sydney to say that we'll give them as a tribute to their, you know, bravery in doing what they do here. We'll give them the proceeds from the wolf pelt. So I'll give him Rekla out of his inventory. We'll give him 50 gold.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I think the kobolds would be shook, obviously, the loss of their leader so suddenly with the ambush attack, but also I think they'd be very grateful for the fact that you were able to dispatch it without further harm, particularly the one that was standing right beside him that ran back. I imagine he might be taking the night off. He might be a little too shook to work, but otherwise, they seem very grateful, and they make mention to you that there are that it's not uncommon for there to be wolves around. It is probably less common for the wolves to ambush them, but they're definitely in the area, so it's not like this thing was completely out of place. So yeah, I guess at that point, they'll kind of huddle back up. You guys can all huddle back up in the cabin. I'll get rid of the wolf carcass. The kobolds would probably want to lay their friend to rest in the mine. Part of the mine, in fact, they're going to talk to you about how part of the mine that was previously overtaken by the cultists has been turned into a tomb. And so they're going to take their fallen leader and put him into the tomb. I assume they'll do that the next day. Given the fact that this just happened, they're going to probably just go ahead and rest at this point with the rest of you in the cabin.
And what were the gems? We had the four more of the little six gold ones that I was trying to get at, and then there was the red cloudy quartz, and then what was the one that got added?
So it was four. The four that are more than six, they're actually, I'm just gonna tell you that they're estimated to be 10 to 20 gold each. Those four. The cloudy one, you still haven't been able to really appraise that one, but you definitely think
Yeah.
it's worth probably well over 50 gold would be your guess. The last one is a nominal. It's like maybe a 5 gold piece. Yeah.
Okay.
So you got a 5, and then you've got 4 10 to 20s, and then you've got the smoky red one that's at least
The nominal one I'll just leave in the bag then.
okay.
I'll be like, hey, this one, like realizing it's nominal, I'll be like, oh, I found this one out there too. This one must have fallen out of the bag. I'm literally just after things that I can make into these Everlight.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Recla's gonna heal himself up real quick.
Oh yeah.
Did that
good idea.
work?
Yeah, that helps.
Here we go. All right, I'm gonna try to. I have a question. When you guys go into the creatures folder, do you like see creatures listed in there? Does it show you?
yeah, there's a
And-
bunch of creatures down there at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
The list.
Okay. I've been trying to display the ones that you've encountered,
Nice.
but I don't know. I've probably missed a bunch. So there's probably things that you've fought in this list that I haven't put in there. But I just added the dire wolf, so you have him. Oh, this is this one. This is the one that I didn't add that you guys would. Oh no, that the chimera. Is the chimera listed in there?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, that's the one I was. Okay, for some reason it's showing a different symbol next to it, but yeah. So okay, so most of these I think are right. I think I got most of the ones that you've seen in there, but yeah, I try to display them if you've encountered them, so that
Nice.
it kind of keeps a little bit of a running list of creatures. Okay, so the rest of this night will go uneventful. You can do some healing. You guys can do medicine checks. I know we're obviously at the end of the session, so is there anything else that anyone wanted to do before we adjourn?
Yeah, Rekla had a silver whistle. He was going to give a silver whistle to the kobolds so that they can use it as a alarm system here.
Yeah, it sounds like they need one.
Nice, and
Yeah.
it's silver, and it's
Right?
and it's silver. So
Very nice.
that's a good touch. I like that. Yeah, they'll gratefully accept that. They'll gratefully accept that. And I think the following morning you guys could get maybe even a quick tour of the Sootscale mine to see its current condition. But we'll probably park it right here, and that way, in case you guys did want to interact more with the mine or check any of that out, you can do that. If you've got other questions or conversation you want to have with the kobolds, you could do that. Did you get your medicine all done, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to add it back in.
Cool. Awesome. Well, you guys are on the road. You're headed south. You're going towards the murder tube. You made it about halfway. You encountered a dire wolf, and you pretty capably took it down. I know it did hurt you pretty bad, Rekla, with that critical hit, which was.
Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it didn't. The kobold just had no chance on
Yeah,
that
I
one.
was glad to take the hit rather than lose another kobold.
Yeah. So.
What a shame we lost that one kobold that just
The
happened to be
one kobold.
holding the gem.
Isn't it peculiar how Sydney follows him out to stalk him,
Yeah.
and
all of a
just
sudden he's dead.
casually a dire wolf shows up and assassinates him? I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know.
A lot of things just seem to go Sydney's way. For what it's worth. I think Recla's the only one that's even caught an inkling of the magic thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other good thing about this session is that you got all of those kingdom activities rolling.
Mhm.
So by the time you guys get back, you'll have a lot of things in motion that you'll get updates on, and you've got your economy rolling. You met the people on the road who are going to kind of start to commission and make banners. If anybody has an idea for the color of the banner or the logo of your banner, feel free to throw out ideas.
My first idea is two people, but one of them's a kobold and they're high-fiving.
a kobold, and a human like high-fiving on a
Yeah,
yellow banner, right? Because that's the
on a yellow
opposite
banner.
of.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, I'm on it. I'm on it. I will try to draft something for next time for your review. But yeah, thanks guys for taking some time to play. I'm glad we were able to get back to the table.
Yeah.
I know we missed Ben, but well, you guys were capable. You took care of business without him. So
Yeah,
Right
no
on.
problem. And the place will be cleaned up by the time he gets back. So
yeah, he'll just walk in and assume this is how it always works. But all right,
good.
stay
All right.
warm, y'all. Take care.
Thanks,
Later,
Teresa.
guys.
All right,
We'll see ya.
bye, guys.